That's right. You know, we're on the third floor, and the owner said the first floor might be gone by tomorrow. So if you're in a one-story house, you could be in trouble here as this water could continue to rise. And keep in mind when that storm surge could happen. And, of course, all these things are coulds. You know, we're hearing so much extreme statements on the air. It could come after the eye hits. That's when the worst of the storm surge could hit. If the eye hits around here in the afternoon, we could see people in darkness with that storm surge. And it could be a very sort of silent, rapid thing in the dark. Water rising in the dark is not easy to detect. So that could be the real danger here over the next 24 hours, Shepard.
Steve Harrigan, be safe in Naples. Thanks very much. We'll check in throughout the day. Some signs blown over in South Miami-Dade County, and some live pictures from WSVN there. Let's listen.
This way, you see it rushing against the street. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. And I don't know if you can hear it or not, but if you listen to it, this sounds like a train with square wheels riding down US 1. I mean, and these are the images that people think of with Hurricane Andrew. But imagine this, but, you know, 2 to 3 times worse, because that's what they experienced 25 years ago when Hurricane Andrew came to this area. And a lot of people talked about Hurricane Andrew when they were talking about getting ready for Irma. So certainly, hopefully, people are breathing somewhat of a sigh of relief.
It's measuring around 60 miles per hour. They're so fast that the sheriff's office is saying all emergency vehicles are now cleared from the roads. They will not be returning to the streets until that wind dies down, until the storm has been cleared. Concern.
I am in touch with several of our neighbors. We keep checking in. We do have one neighbor that has the type of generator that kicks in immediately after losing the power. And they have indicated, feel free to come by if it gets to be too much for you once the power has gone out.
Okay. Yvonne Pandolfo, thank you so much for letting our viewers in on what you're experiencing there. We wish you the best of luck.
Winds of 40 miles an hour to move into southwest Florida already. They're having gusts at that height. But the forward progress of the storm at 8 or 9 miles an hour, this will be a very slow mover. They're expecting some acceleration. You can see, yes, there's a few signs down, pom-poms in the road, and you know, just like little things. The roadway into the hotel proper, there's some trees that are down there. We're not going to worry about shooting that for you right now. Trust me, it's there. And anyway, this is what we're seeing a lot of right now. The question is, how long will these winds sustain? Will we get up this way in the Fort Lauderdale area? Will we get strong feeder bands? And what happens is that the rain continues, the wind continues, kind of weakens branches and so on. Then you get a big gust, and then that's when you get some real problems. But these guys here, these guys will be driving these trucks. They'll be ready to go out as soon as we get the word. Also, we did see fire rescue on the road. We did see some police on the road. So they are obviously these winds are not high enough to prevent them from going out and making emergency calls, serious emergency calls as this storm develops. So that's the very latest from Broward County, Fort Lauderdale area. I'm Hank Tester, CBS 4. Back to you guys.
We believe you, Hank, when you say that there's damage in other places. We certainly know that is out there. And this, a true testament to the severity of some of the damage we're seeing throughout South Florida right now.
Yeah, this is one of those images that everybody seems to be sharing today on social media. And it really is something to take a look at here, because this was one of the topics of concern in the hours leading up to the first impacts of Irma. What you're looking at here is a crane that appears to have snapped and part of it collapsed onto a building that is under construction. And I have a very reliable source that works in the real estate industry that says this is the Vice apartment complex. It's a luxury building, a rental building that was going up on 3rd and Biscayne. And as you see there, that crane came down on it. And it's of concern not to the construction site, because obviously nobody's there, but to the buildings around that area. Of course, it's a heavily populated area of downtown Miami. And even though people were asked to evacuate from those buildings, some decided to stay. So the concern now is, could debris from this continue to fly around as we continue to see the strongest winds, which, as we've heard, will last for about another hour and a half. The strongest winds, we're going to see winds throughout the day. And I know that the city of Miami was working with the developer.
It has picked up remarkably in the last hour. We're getting gusts here reported 70 miles an hour and in excess, and we're in what they call, when you chase storms, the snap, crackle, and pop phase here in Naples. You're starting to hear sounds of things fail. Branches, trees, transformers, and you start looking around to figure out where they're coming from so you know where the danger is. A lot of trees are down here. There's a lot of debris, but we're worried about a higher level of damage. So let's get to Chad Myers right now. Chad, the simple question is, what happened? We were expecting this some hours from now, and all of a sudden, it's pretty close to what we're seeing in Miami in the main. I mean, it has gotten much worse here, much snottier in very quick time.
And expect it to almost double from there. I mean, that's what this major hurricane means to you, Chris. You just had a wind gust to 71. Wind gust there may be 120. Now, the force of 120 is more than double the force of 70. I know the numbers aren't double, but it's a force that is multiplied by itself. It is wind speed squared. And so you really have to expect what's going on there. The water near Chris now 4.5 feet below where it should be, and it's going to come rushing back as soon as that eye gets by. There goes the eye right through Sarasota and Tampa, and then maybe even up towards St. Mark's. That I was there for the flood for Ivan. Here comes the storm, though, coming on shore right now near Everglades City. Again, a second landfall. The first one was Cudjoe Key in the lower Keys, just to the east of Key West. There is the spin of the storm right now, pushing the water away from Naples, pushing the water away from Tampa, but that will end as soon as the eye goes by. Now, Tampa, you still have about 8 hours or so before that eye goes by. But this is now the high-res forecast radar. Significant rain and stormy weather, winds to 90. Just had a 91-mile-per-hour gust in Miami Airport. And so that's still going to happen for the next few hours. Move you ahead 3 hours. The storm spins, and Naples is in the eye. So Chris Cuomo will see wind at 120 going from east to west. We'll wait a while. It'll go to 0. And then it'll come from the other direction at about 100 miles per hour. So what's blowing one way will then get knocked around and get picked up and blown the other way as debris. And that's going to be Sarasota, for Venice, for Tampa. Same story. You all get inside the eye. So the wind goes, does its damage. The wind stops and then comes back around. Even though there's not much wind here, there's still going to be damaging wind speeds, at least 90 miles per hour on the backside of that. Chris, you have a question.
Yeah, the storm surge, Chad, thank you for explaining that exchange of energy and that phenomenon of pulling the water out. Yes. But do me a favor, try to quantify what that return will look like in terms of how far it could go from where it usually is inshore. Are we talking 100 feet in, a couple of blocks in? You know, like how far in will people have to look at standing water, and how long can it be around?
It's all about the topography of where you live. If you're on a very sharp angle to the water, it may only come back 1 or 2 blocks, but there's no real mountains there. There's nothing elevated there. It is going to spread inland for city blocks and maybe miles before it finally stops. As the storm goes by, the winds change direction, and this is what the Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center, has been so concerned about. In fact, they gave us a personal phone call and said, we want you to stress this. This is it. Yes, things will get knocked down with the wind, but the surge will kill people. And they wanted everyone to know that. This is the real deal. 10 to 15 feet on top of what should be mean sea level, which means for Chris, that could be 19 feet higher than it is now because it's already 4 feet down because the wind's blowing the wrong way. Anderson, this is a major event for Marco, for Sanibel, for Punta Gorda, where we were years ago, all the way through Naples, Fort Myers, and the like. Big-time water hitting places that have never been wet before.
You know, and Chad, I keep thinking about that there's the storm surge, which is the rise of the water, but then depending on the force of the winds, there can be waves on top of that, correct?
Absolutely. The waves will come in from the ocean off the Gulf of Mexico at about 90 miles per hour. Now, we know that the wind at Naples may be 128, but that will be from the east. The backside of the eye never recovered from hitting Cuba. And I guess we're going to, thank some stars for America, but we're going to have to help Cuba because they got hit by a 160-mile-per-hour Cat 5 that took the stuffing out of this storm. That's why we're not talking 160. We're talking 125. Big difference in power, big difference in damage. The northern part of the Cuban Keys were really destroyed from this storm, taking the energy from Irma, putting it onto Cuba proper, and taking that energy damage away from America. It finally moves on up to Albany and Macon and the like, and we will have hurricane wind gusts even here in Atlanta. I know that seems ridiculous because everybody left and went to Atlanta or Charlotte or Williamsburg, someplace like that up to the north, and the winds will be strong here and also in Birmingham. Anderson.
All right, Chad, appreciate that. It's really nice to get that level of detail because that is what people all throughout this region are looking for now, trying to absorb every detail, every data point they can to help them make decisions. I want to go to Miguel Marquez, who is in Punta Gorda. He was there yesterday as well for us. Obviously, Punta Gorda, it's so interesting to be in Tampa and talk about Punta Gorda because, Miguel, back in 2004 when Hurricane Charlie was coming up, it was supposed to hit Tampa. Then it went changed about, I think it was about 4 degrees, ended up turning and hitting Punta Gorda and really decimating that town. What are the concerns there now, and just what is the environment like right now there?
Yeah, well, what we are seeing right now, you will be seeing very shortly. The winds here are about 40 miles per hour. They are sustained. They are gusting up into the 50s. We're seeing some of the worst weather we've seen so far. It is shelter in place for Charlotte County. And they were just talking about sort of the wind effect on the bays and on the water here. I want to show you this. 2 boats, you think they're floating? They're not. Move in there. You can see these are actually in mud now. This is the Peace River and the bay right next to Punta Gorda. If you come over to the right here, you can see how much of the bay is actually exposed. And all of that is just low-lying water on mud, essentially. And that is blowing across the mud, and all that water is going out. So what goes out must come back in eventually, and they are expecting things a little bit better here. They're expecting the winds to top out at about 110 miles an hour in Punta Gorda, with gusts up to 135, so a little better than we were yesterday. They're also expecting the storm surge to be a little bit lower, 5 to 8 feet, but they're saying there could be 3 feet of water, that's about up to here, 3 feet of water across certain parts of Charlotte County. This is the bay, and you get a very good sense of just how powerful this storm is and where it's blowing. Look how much of the floor of the river, of the Peace River here, has been exposed by the wind blowing this storm out. Once that eye wall passes here and it starts blowing up the other way, then they'll have that storm surge here and things will get even worse. But right now, very sustained winds here. And it's only going to get worse. We're about 40 miles an hour at the moment. It will get up to 90 to 110 miles an hour, gusting up to 135 in this area. So we are now battening down and hunkering down for the duration. Anderson?
Miguel, we're going to check in with you. Be careful out there. And again, for people a little bit north of where Miguel is in Punta Gorda and where Chris Cuomo is here in Tampa and elsewhere, a lot of that storm surge may be coming in the darkness late at night, which makes it all the more scary. You don't get a sense of what's coming. It's very hard to see what's coming, and especially with those hurricane force winds whipping at that time of night. We're going to take a short break, and our special coverage of Hurricane Irma continues in a moment.
My name is Mike Rogers.
Looks like that one car couldn't make it happen anymore, and the van is there to help. But this sort of thing going on in lots of places. And the vice president mentioned Marco Island and Naples and how this storm appears to be headed in that direction. We'll ask Steve Harrigan about that. It sure looks like it.
Which is in Fort Myers.
Shepard, it is coming right down this road here in Naples. The rain coming down in sheets and the wind sometimes kicking up into definitely hurricane force winds. The timing of this is going to be critical. We could see the worst of the wind in about 2.5 hours time. And keep in mind, high tide here is at 3:55 p.m. So we could have the worst of the wind and the highest of the tide just at the wrong time. They've been aggressively trying to get people out of this city of 20,000. They've done an excellent job with that. The sheriffs have been going door to door. But right now, a civil emergency is in place. People are being told to shelter in their homes, and that's exactly what people are doing here. There's no one out except for some journalists to watch this. As far as structural damage from 150 mile an hour winds, we have not seen that yet. So I think
hopefully those don't turn into projectiles at some point. Hopefully those are heavy enough, but who knows at this point. The pool area, we checked that out earlier. The pool seems to be okay as far as the water level. But we saw a door that's swinging open with supplies in it. Unfortunately, we couldn't open the gate to get to it to shut it for them. We might have to try to do that later. All right, so this is the front of the neighborhood. We're gonna walk through these gates here. See, some people are still taking advantage of this so-called nice weather that we have. People are taking walks. Not recommended, even though I'm doing it. And a speed bump's gonna trip me, so hold on one second. You can see just past this person here, that tree snapped already. It's already gone. And over here you can see some palm fronds down. We're gonna walk through these gates here. So here we are, we're just off of Old Metro Parkway. You can see palm fronds have already taken a beating. We would be lucky if we only saw palm frond damage. You can see a bunch of them right there. All across the entrance to this neighborhood is Forest Lake Townhomes. You can see the palm trees are just taking a beating right now. And I want to be able to show you guys the street, this intersection over here. The lights are still working, but it's only a matter of time until those likely go out. Let's see if I can get my photographer to zoom in on the street signs. You can see those are just swaying right now. And it's really powerful. And then this camera that's closest to us, it's already bent. The other ones haven't bent from what I can tell, but this one is pretty badly bent already. And here's another bad band, so I'm gonna hold on to my hat because I've already lost it a couple times today. Ah, that one hurt. Yeah, this is one of those dangerous bands. We're probably gonna need to seek shelter. Caleb, look at this sign right here. The construction sign is just wobbling. Of course, it stops once I mention it. You see those trees over here? I'm really interested to see what those trees do during Hurricane Irma to see the aftermath here, but it's getting pretty hairy out here for us, so we're going to send it back to you guys so we can get into some shelter.
Good idea. Okay, thank you very much, Kim. And, you know, she showed those traffic signals and those poles. A lot of them have all been replaced to withstand very strong winds from hurricanes, so they may fare better this time around than some of the previous, as well as some of the power poles. We've seen FPL and other major utilities replace a lot of the power poles. Those old wooden ones would break, snap. They've got those big concrete poles that are meant
Charlie and Wilma, because they had to replace so many. A lot of them are concrete now.
That's right. So they may fare a little bit better than some of the other things in our area.
Hopefully that will help. We have on the phone, I believe, Ada, who is downtown in Fort Myers riding this out in one of the high rises.
Her husband.
Oh, Warren.
Oh, Warren. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
To reach,
How are you guys doing?
Losing some trees, but others are being pushed to their break point. Different parts of structures are being tested and weakened. So what will happen when this storm surge that Chad's talking about, when that comes back, and when these much more powerful winds, you heard him say, Anderson, he believes that the effective force of the winds that we're going to get in a few hours will be twice what we're getting now. That's the big concern.
Yeah, I want to go to Miami, where Peter Zalewski, who's a business owner, is there. Peter, I'm wondering, how are things for you in terms of what you and what have you been seeing in your area in Miami?
Well, Anderson, what I can tell you is right now in the streets, and I'm in downtown Miami. I'm probably about a good 1,000 feet, maybe 2,000 feet directly from Biscayne Bay. Biscayne Bay is about ready to breach some of the seawalls that are in and around here. On the actual street level, it's probably about 2 foot deep or so. It's well past the grill of a regular traditional automobile. And in terms of winds, it's probably 70 to 80s plus, and then you're getting bursts. You can see it in the windows when the windows start to get pushed in. And a lot of the trees are bending, and they have been bending for quite some time.
The location you're in, is it a new construction? Because, it's one of the things we've been talking about is in the wake of Andrew, building codes were really upgraded, particularly for any new construction in South Florida.
It is a brand new building. It was constructed in 2013, came online. The developer had the foresight to go forward and actually build it. So it's almost as if you're starting on the second floor. So the first floor is where the parking garage is and where you enter the building, for the most part, for visitors, is going to be on that second floor. So think of what you'll see in the Keys, or think about what you'll see in certain parts which flood a lot. Effectively, that ground floor is basically just dedicated towards parking. And, and when the water recedes, then you can sort of clean up and go back to normal. So they did take those advantages, or those steps, and they also they put in place some pretty strong stringent glass panes, and so far they seem to be holding up, but I'm not sure if it'll continue, but I have some confidence, and I'm here.
And in terms of supplies, I mean, people have been told to have about 3 days worth. I assume you have stocked up.
Well, unfortunately enough, I went vegetarian, so I have a lot of beans and rice laying around. So I tended to cook up some of that, throw some spice in there, and I'm not worried. The only thing I'm worried about is probably gaining weight.
Well, if that's your only concern, then you're in very good shape. Obviously, here in Tampa, which has not seen this level of storm in nearly 100 years, 1921 was a storm which really decimated this area. And obviously, back then, the city was not anywhere close to the development that we have seen now. But there's real concern about the buildings, their ability to deal with the level of flooding that may occur here. Peter, I appreciate talking to you in Miami. Certainly wish you the best in the days ahead. Our coverage continues from points all across southern Florida, from the west coast to the east coast. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
All right, thank you. We'll check back. They have a great perspective, first of all, and to know that they're safe going through this. Let's go to Marco Island now. I think we have some new video here. Folks on the island starting to see tree branches coming down on the road. And again, Marco Island, this situation could change very, very much in the next couple to 3 hours.
Yeah.
We'll be watching that closely.
Absolutely. They're seeing hurricane wind gusts and very, very strong winds there. Of course, the island was under an evacuation order for quite a few days already. Most people have left, but this gives you some idea of what people, if you're out of the area, you're trying to get some news about your neighborhood. We are seeing some big trees broken off in this picture. So that is expected in this type of hurricane with the winds that we're seeing, that will have a lot of tree damage and maybe some power lines down. But if you look at the house is faring just fine in this picture. Of course, it's a limited view, but we just want to give people on Marco some idea of what's happening there. Let's go now to Fort Myers Beach, and this is video near the Diamond Head Beach Resort. And you can see the palm trees are always
you can see in neighborhood by neighborhood here. Looks like a lot of people shuttered up there. The winds are starting, but as she was saying, a lot of folks, and there are a lot of neighborhoods like this. There's not always a place a garage to bring a car inside, or or to bring the trash inside. Hopefully, if you have a next door neighbor with a garage, get those things in, because those things absolutely will fly in a hurricane, those garbage canisters and those recycling canisters.
Yeah. Let's go to some video from our crew that's driving around Naples, and they were doing this earlier today, and they went to several areas just to see how things were progressing. This is before the current weather we're seeing in Naples right now, so it is not as severe as is going on right now, but you can see there's a lot of wind, some very, very heavy rain. When they stopped the car and got out, there was some very, very saturated ground already because of all of those heavy, heavy rain bands. Jim Farrell told us most of the rain is to the north of this storm. So we're seeing so much rain right now, so much of that heavy, heavy rain and downpours. But the roads you see, nobody's on the roads. That's a great thing to see. Roads very clear at this hour, but the windshield wipers are going as they're driving around. And you see some of the landscape damage, palm fronds in the middle of the road there. This is probably now down near the Gulf Shore area, if I remember her saying. And some of the trees and palm trees on that saturated ground have been knocked over. But so far in this part of Naples, earlier today, this is at least an hour or two ago, there was not heavy damage caused by the early bands of Hurricane Irma.
Yeah, but the winds are picking up. Let's go to Kelsey Kushner live on Fort Myers Beach for us now. Kelsey, how are you doing?
Hey guys, yeah, I snuck outside just for a couple minutes because I want to just show you guys just a little update of how it's doing out here. You can see some of the trees are blowing a lot more in the wind than they were this morning. Now, when I first got out here at 2 a.m., it was just starting to see some of the wind, a little bit of rain, but now such a difference. I mean, you step outside for 2 seconds and this wind hits you and it hits you hard. Now, there is a pool down here. I don't know if we're able to see it through this screen, but some of the water in the pool is splashing up. It's already going over the edge of the pool. There's some branches in there. We're not seeing a lot of damage, but we do see a lot of palm tree leaves. They're down. There's some pots that are knocked over. Nothing too bad, but definitely kicking up out here. Now, I just want to say that we are staying at the hotel. We feel safe right now. We did just have a team meeting with the general manager. He told us that he wants us to pack a bag, and around 4 o'clock when the hurricane's supposed to hit us the hardest, we are supposed to evacuate into either a staircase, into a ballroom, and kind of hang out for the entire duration of the hurricane. Now, for me, this is my first hurricane, so I'm a little freaked out, but he is making us feel incredibly safe. I feel really safe being inside this concrete building so far. I mean, they have all of the windows boarded up through the hallway, so it's a little chilling hearing the wind pounding. You hear it howling. You can't walk anywhere. You kind of feel a little slip, you slide a little on the ground because a lot of people are coming in with their wet shoes. So it's dark, but I know that we are safe outside here. So again, we just have some trees blowing. Winds are definitely kicking up. The beach has some sand kicking up on it as well. So we will be safely monitoring the conditions out here. We'll keep you guys updated with how the beach is doing. Back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kelsey. And follow those directions because they prepare those buildings just so they have a safe place for people to go and ride out the worst of the storm.
Go inside and be safe. All right, let's take you live to some different cameras around the area. This is from the Hyatt Coconut Point. This is Estero looking off from Bonita Springs, looking off toward the Gulf right now. And you can see we have noticed the conditions really starting to deteriorate in these areas here in the last few minutes. So we'll show you some of these live pictures.
And let's go now to Sanibel, to the Sanibel Causeway. And you're going to see, as Jim pointed out earlier, there's no water in Punta Rassa, where the boat ramp is. The water has been pulled out. The rain is coming down very, very heavy right now at the Sanibel Causeway, and visibility is just terrible. Deteriorating conditions there at the Sanibel Causeway.
Yeah, you can tell the difference if you were watching a few minutes ago about how much worse it is there. Let's go live back downtown to Fort Myers, and this is right outside of our back door here, Billy Creek, and look how low the creek is. The water is still going out toward the river. Now, interesting that we just talk, because we don't have a perspective on the full river from where we are right here. But the gentleman we were just talking to staying in High Point Place was saying the river itself doesn't look like it's drawn down, at least in downtown Fort Myers, but the creek certainly has. You can see how high the dock level there where that boat should be.
Well, the river where that gentleman was calling from is about a mile wide, so it's quite a big wide area there, so maybe he can't see it from as high up as he was. But Billy Creek this is just a short distance to the river, so you can see what is happening there, and we will try to bring you this picture. Hopefully it will be clear enough for us later so that you can see the difference when we're talking about the storm surge much later today. Now, we also have some wind coming to us. Is this Cape Coral? Yes, Cape Coral, and you can see just the fresh water flooding from the rain. right now. Just so much rain in that area. And remember, Cape Coral had a lot of flooded areas just a week ago, or a little over a week ago, right? And so the ground is already saturated, and these heavy rain bands are just dropping so much moisture and precipitation into Cape Coral right now that you can just see the ditches are full, the swales are full, the parking lots are filling up. There's a lot of water in Southwest Florida right now.
Yeah, we've got a lot more coming too. Let's go to Punta Gorda and Charlotte Harbor right here. This is at the end of Scott Street. So this is Charlotte Harbor right at the Peace River. And wow, look at that. You can kind of see the, well,
those are navigation markers, so you wouldn't see them.
You can see it right down to the sand.
Yeah, yeah.
You hardly ever see that. And
you're not navigating that today.
And the water is on its way out right now, but it certainly is going to be replaced and then some later on. Wow, look at that.
Yeah, that gives you some perspective on how low the water is right now ahead of Hurricane Irma, and it'll be interesting to see how deep it is after.
Hopefully that's something we only see today and never again, but yeah. Wow. Okay, this picture. This is where it made landfall. This is the first picture we have from Cujo Key. First landfall. That house is on a 12-foot stilt, and that's the water right up to the front door. So that gives you an idea of the storm surge that came in as Irma made landfall at 10 after 9 this morning in the Keys, not too far from Key West at Cujo Key.
Okay, we are going to go on to the phone now with Jennifer Mills, who is in Naples. Jennifer, thanks so much for being with us. How are you today?
I'm doing well, considering. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
We're fine, thank you. Where are you exactly in Naples? Where are you riding things out?
We are on Airport Pulling Road, right between the streets of Immokalee and Vanderbilt Beach, right next to Pelican Marsh Elementary in that neighborhood.
Yes, so you're in North Naples.
I am. I live in Bonita Shores, but we were evacuated, and so we are riding this out at my mom's house.
Okay, and I understand no power?
No power. No, we lost. We were surprised. We had power until about 11 o'clock, 11:30. Then we lost power.
Okay. Well, you've had some really strong wind gusts there, some hurricane-forced winds. So it's not a big surprise. And you sent us this picture as well. Why don't you describe this so people know exactly what this is?
Okay, because you have to understand, I've been listening to Jim for the last 48 hours, and I've been doing everything he says to do. We cut the screens out of my cage. I mean, I've been freezing bags of water, and then there was something very calming about him, so it became a joke with my husband and I, because once I lost power, I'm like, okay, I'm going to cut his picture out now, and then I'll feel a little better.
You know, hey, he makes us all feel better, Jennifer. So Jim is standing here with us right now, and so, Jim, how are you feeling about that? They feel good. You're making them feel calm?
I hate that picture. Well, whatever.
No.
But she said they did everything you said. And
who was that? I was busy.
It's Jennifer Mills. She's talking to us from North Naples.
Oh, hey, Jennifer, thank you. I don't know what you said, but I still have a job, so it must have been okay.
It was all good things. It was all good things.
New info in. I've got the 2 o'clock advisory. The strongest wind gust, by the way, so far has still been at Naples, 103 mile per hour gust. And we can fire up our weather computer. Well, actually, all right, let's see. I've got a picture here. I'll let this go. I just have a little time lapse. Let that play out and watch the water. It doesn't seem to be going up or down. It's hanging in there. So obviously at below average levels, right around the corner from our studio on Palm Beach Boulevard, that's Billy's Creek, which leads out to the Caloosahatchee. This is new. 2 o'clock info is in. And hey, it's better. It's weaker. It's not of Category 4 anymore. It's Category 3 hurricane. The wind has dropped from 130 to 120. Still a major hurricane. And the air pressure's come up a bit. So it appears to be weakening. Now, we measured forward motion at about 12 miles per hour. Scott was measuring it on Doppler radar, and now the Hurricane Center says, yes, it is moving at 12 miles per hour to the north. So we're expecting a major Category 3 hurricane to come in Collier County coast, Lee County coast, western Charlotte County this afternoon and this evening. Here's an approximate position for 8 p.m. Take the icon out that shows you the forecast category, and you can see the forecast track right in here. Now, if this comes true, the eye of Irma may be just offshore Marco, but it might go right over the Sanibel Causeway and then into Charlotte Harbor. And remember that donut of windy weather surrounding the eye is going to go right along this track. So if you are within a stone's throw of that red line, you may have the eye come through and some very powerful wind in the eye wall. These are right now wind speeds occurring in southwest Florida. Steady, sustained, 49 miles per hour. Naples, Fort Myers up to 40 miles per hour. And these numbers will be increasing during the day. Let's take a look at the wind gusts. Naples did report a wind gust of over 100. Now the most recent report, 71. 61 mile an hour gust in Fort Myers. The Cape almost 50, and Port Charlotte 48 degrees. Here's the center of circulation. Look at how much rain there is for the state. All the way up to Jacksonville, Daytona Beach, over to Gainesville on the west side. Southward through all of southwest Florida. Now the eye wall right in here, this is the northern semicircle. Here's Marco Island, 951, Marco Island. Single digits. The northern extension of the eye wall is now 8 miles to the south of Marco. The eye's farther south, but this is where the roughest weather is going to be. It's coming within the hour. In the next 60 minutes or less, this northern eye wall will be moving over Everglades City, Chokoloskee, Fort Myers, Marco, Goodland, and then it's headed for Naples. Take a look. Here's the time lapse. So we've got steady movement here to the north at about 12 miles per hour, preceded by big bands of rain. These feeder bands, extensive, heavy rain. We're still expecting a foot of rain or more in parts of the region before the end of this soaking, windy, surging event. Here's the surface wind. There you have it, coming into Marco Island. And we still think there's a good chance it will be over the island or nearby the island between 4 and 5 p.m. Then the wind picks up out of the south and the storm surge event begins. The wind event is occurring now. The storm surge event gets going as the hurricane begins to move through the area. And here we go. If the eye is nearby Sanibel later this evening, the wind will be onshore from the Monroe and Collier County coast, and it'll be turning onshore over parts of the Lee County coast. So this is how it's going to play out today. Hurricane force wind sustained in neighborhoods near the path of the hurricane. I showed you that red line. Wind gusts near or above 100 miles per hour again in communities near the path of that line. There will be some very powerful gusts inland to Lake Okeechobee as well. And then we have to keep our fingers crossed that this storm surge event doesn't play out quite as bad as it could. But surge is definitely on the way. You cannot escape storm surge when a hurricane comes in out of the south and moves in this path. There's no miracle cure to that. The wind is going to come off of the Gulf of Mexico and it's going to push the Gulf right into the coast. That will raise the level of the water along the coastline, starting 10,000 Islands, Marco, Naples, Lee, Charlotte Harbor, the rest of Charlotte County, and then Sarasota County. So we are going to try to stay on the air as long as we can. I do want to mention that I know a high percentage of our viewers, and maybe this includes you if you're still watching, if you haven't lost power, receive our signal via satellite, whether it's Dish TV, I have that at home, I've had DirecTV. DirecTV, rain can block that signal. If you retain power, you still have power, but you can lose our signal because of rain fade is what we call it. As too much of a last-minute suggestion, perhaps. But if you have rabbit ears stored away anywhere in the house, you can hook those up to your television. You'll have to find the remote control, change the input from your HDMI 1, 2, or however you're getting your satellite signal to the antenna selection. And then you will be able to receive a very clear picture of what we are showing you on Wink News. Generally, it's going to be channel 11.1 or 2, one of those. Flip around. If you don't have rabbit ears, now here's just like a MacGyver suggestion. Remember that show? The guy could fix anything? If you have a coat hanger, problem is you have a coax connector on the back of your TV. And obviously, a coat hanger is not going to screw into that. But if you can get the coat hanger and stretch it out, untwist it so it's a rod, and if you can get that kind of masking taped or taped to the outer threaded part of that coax, you might get a signal from the air into your input of the television, and then again, go to the TV or the remote control, change the input to the antenna selection, and you will find that we are on the air if you lose our signal via satellite. Keep that in mind in case that happens. All right, let's take a look. All right, that was later in the day, 10 o'clock, Charlotte Harbor. Now the wind's coming on shore for you. And then once the hurricane leaves, we are going to have an extended period of onshore wind. So it won't be, the water won't be as high tomorrow, I don't think, as it will be at the peak of the storm surge event later today, but the water's going to be held at the coast. The storm surge comes in, it builds up, goes up the river, the harbor, Gordon River, and then the water wants to go back out. Gravity rules. Gravity wants that water to leave where it's not supposed to be. But if the wind is strong enough, and it will be very strong tomorrow, that's going to keep the water at the coast. It's going to slow down the ability for that water to drain back into the Gulf of Mexico. So I do expect that tomorrow is going to be another significant day for flooding along the coast. So we will have to monitor that as we get there. You may never see this again. Take a look from our Punta Rassa Skycam. It's not wet. There's water there, but boy, where did the water go? It's been blown out to the Gulf of Mexico by these strong northeasterly winds. And as that wind continues to blow out of the northeast, literally it's moving water. It is pushing water away from the coast. And I kind of coined the idea of this. I call this now the Donna effect. This happened with Hurricane Donna in 1960. That's Billy Creek, right here behind Wink Television. And it is exposed. You can see some of the muck there along the seawall. That's not supposed to be that low, but it is. We've got the Collier County Emergency Operations Center on the line. Is this Dan? Dan Summers? Oh, a video of a live look video. This is a recent shot. We took these. Oh, this is live. All right. From the Collier County Emergency Operations Center, this is live. You are looking at the pine trees. Yeah, good. Good perspective. Back up a bit. Look how tall they are. They are, I would imagine, they've already survived wind gusts of 100 miles per hour. So, you know, if I was a tree doctor, I'd say, hey, so far so good. Maybe you will survive, pine tree. They've already made it through gusts of 100, probably because they're almost palm tree-like, so thin that the air is able to flow through those. Now, palm trees, as I'm sure you know, are very wind resistant. You know, Donna came through in 1960. If you're familiar with Fort Myers and the palm trees, the royal palms along McGregor Boulevard, they're still standing. They went through Donna. Wind blows through a palm tree very easily. The trunk is not the problem on a tree. It's like a telephone pole. The wind will blow around the trunk. It's the leaves, or in this case, palm fronds, that trap the wind, and then that resistance bends the tree to a potential breaking point. And of course, if it's in a stand of other trees, then the wind gets blocked by the trees nearby, and the wind's not quite as strong. So some trees will survive. Others are going to be snapped. There's no doubt about it. And it's not too early to talk to you about post-storm issues. After the hurricane leaves, folks, it is going to, I don't mean to use terminology to make it sound worse than it is, but it is going to look like a war zone in that there's going to be a lot of debris all over the road, front yards, backyards. It's going to be a mess. Twigs, branches, mailboxes, you name it. Everything's going to get rearranged temporarily after these 100-mile-an-hour gusts come through. So as the wind dies down on Monday and the sun comes up, and you want to take the look outside, you're going to see quite a scene. I'm sure we're going to get bombarded with pictures from around the area of what it looks like. So that's coming. Don't be surprised when that happens. Ben's on the line. Is he at the Collier County? Oh, a viewer, Pine Island. Hi, Ben. How are you?
Doing fine.
All right, talk to us. What are you seeing right now, or what are you feeling?
We're right now in Bokeelia on Pine Island, and it's going pretty good. We went out for a drive to check on my grandpa's place in St. James City, and we really saw the water levels drop crazy down off the canals and out off the ends of the piers.
Ben, are you watching the TV? Can you see the pictures that we are showing that you sent to us?
Yes, there
okay,
they are.
Good.
Yep.
I want you to walk us through these pictures. If we can slow down this little slideshow so he has some time to... is that you, Ben?
Yes.
When was that picture taken?
That picture was taken at noon today.
Noontime today. How long have you lived here, Ben?
I've been in Florida for about 3 years now.
Okay. So I'm going to guess the answer to this question is no, you've never seen anything like this.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
No, I have not.
Now, I know Bokeelia pretty well. This is the northern tip of Pine Island. Is this up by the little restaurant up there?
This is actually at the end of St. James City, the very southern end.
Oh, you're not Bokeelia. You're St. James City. I'm sorry. All right, talk to us.
I live in...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I live in Bokeelia, but we drove down to St. James City to check on my grandpa's trailer that he has there.
That explains it. You are a resident of Bokeelia, but these are pictures from St. James City. What did it look like? You were there today at noon. This is just a snapshot, but as you looked around, what did it look like? Tell us.
It was pretty crazy. I was surprised to see that some of the trees have already gone over. I sent you a picture of one of those. A lot of debris on the roads, and a lot of trees looking like they're going to be going over on power lines. So
talk to these pictures as we change them, Ben, if you don't mind. Sorry to interrupt, but we've just got a new pickup. This, again, is St. James City, right?
Yes, this is. And that is at the bridge of where you cross over, and there's just after you pass York Road, there's a little bridge there, and that's the marinas in that area. A lot of boats sitting dry on the ground.
Wow. What kind of wind were you experiencing there? I know it's hard to guesstimate the exact mile per hour, but was it tough to stand in a spot? Were you getting pushed around, or was it not too bad yet?
A couple times it was. A couple times. I'm guessing around 40 to 50 miles per hour gusts at that time we were getting.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. Thanks for checking in. And really, thanks for the pictures. Very high quality. There's a tree that you took that picture. That one is down. Now we've got live pictures from Fort Myers Beach with our own Taylor Bazaki at that location. What are we looking at, Taylor? Can you hear me? Can you respond?
Yes, I can hear you. Right now we're enclosed right now in our concrete rooms. We actually just lost power, but what you're looking at right now is outside the windows. As you can see, these are hurricane proof, but look below, look at the towels. The water is already starting to come in, and you're seeing and hearing that wind gust that is just pummeling this glass door right here. Now, if you also take a look back here, we have some backup power, but our rooms are completely out of power. We just lost them. We're feeling those winds and we're seeing everything. And I do want to show you some video that we took earlier that's outside. Obviously, we are inside right now where it's safe. But if you see that video that we shot earlier, we're seeing those palm trees bending, just about looking like they're going to break. We're seeing those stop signs. The wind is really picking up, and since then we have moved inside, but we can show you again. This is getting intense out here. We actually are going to start heading downstairs soon. We're on the 5th floor right now, but right now the hotel staff, there's about 20 of us all here. We're going to start heading down. They're asking us to start packing our bags, getting to a safe spot. Actually, we're going to go down to the ballroom where there's, like I said, going to be about 20 of us. We have a generator down there where it is safe, and we're just packing a bag and hoping to stay safe. We're going to put some of our stuff in the bathroom, and we're just going to start to soon hunker down here and ride out this storm.
Okay, Taylor, that's a great idea. You see the wind swirling outside that door and the rain causing all of that ponding outside the door, because we're not talking about storm surge at Fort Myers Beach at this time.
No, not at all.
We're just talking about those heavy bands of rain and the strong winds blowing it in.
And the eye wall is arriving now, Marco Island. If you grab the radar picture on our #1 weather computer, you will see time of arrival. I estimated around 2:30. It looks like we're going to be pretty much on target with that. Marco at 9:51. Look at that. Here it comes. The eye wall of a major hurricane is about to make landfall in Florida for the second time. The first time was in the Keys. Here comes landfall number 2. I would guess within 15 to 30 minutes, if you are in Marco, Goodland, Everglades City, you are about to experience an eye wall and some of the roughest weather and windiest weather that this Hurricane Irma has to deliver. Please get ready for that.
Now, if you're there, how long will the worst of it be over? Let's say it starts at Marco Island. How long should you expect before the worst of it passes you?
That eye wall semicircle that is about to reach and move over the Collier County coastline from Everglades City to Marco Island, it's about 5-6 miles in diameter. And since the hurricane's moving along about 12 miles, so it's about 30 minutes, you're going to have extreme weather for about 30 minutes. Then if the eye does pass over Marco, it's going to get very calm, an eerie kind of calm. The rain is going to stop, or at worst be very light. And then you're going to have the second half of the hurricane come through. But notice, radar is not showing much on the southern semicircle of the hurricane. There it is. It's less than 8 miles away. I'm going to try to get another Doppler look there. Boy, it's lopsided. Look at the structure of that. You see the calm eye approaching Marco. There's not much on the south of the eye.
Is that does that show it's weakening? Is that a weakening sign, or what does that mean, Jim?
No, it means that basically, well, you've heard us say this many times, they're organized or they're disorganized. It was super organized earlier. It was very concentric. It was very well distributed. Now it's lopsided with rain on the north side. But that doesn't mean all of the wind is on the north side. You can still have wind without rain. So it's going to be a rough ride for Marco here as this eye wall pushes through. There won't be as much rain on the back half, but it could be just as windy on the southern side.
Okay.
All right. We'll get right back to you, Jim. We have Olivia Mancino live at the Emergency Operations Center in Collier County. Olivia.
Well, Chris, just within the past 30 seconds, the winds have really picked up here. As you can see, Jim mentioned earlier, these pine trees just absolutely going nuts in the wind. Now, a lot of us have kind of been cooped up in this building for the last 24 hours, so I'm going to have him swing the camera around. As you can see, plenty of people here are outside right now checking out this storm really before we get the brunt of it. As I mentioned, the winds are really picking up. I mean, check out the parking lot over there. The trees are just going absolutely nuts. We're all kind of bracing for impact here. We know we're going to get the worst of this storm soon. And look at that. One of those trees just fell just this second. It just got uprooted. We know that this storm is really about to hit our area bad. We're going to kind of duck for cover here soon and get under this overhang to make sure everyone is safe. But as you can see, the conditions here in Collier County are starting to get a lot worse. I will send it back to you guys for now.
Olivia.
Yes.
It's Jim.
Yes, I can hear you.
Get inside. Get away now,
Jim.
please. There was a tree that just went down while you were talking. Yep. There could be flying debris at any moment. Thank you.
Everyone's going inside.
Tremendous reporting. But please get out of the weather elements now.
Yes, and when you showed us that radar, you showed us how close it is to Marco. It is not very far from where she is standing at EOC. It's just not a safe time to be out.
No, this is Sanibel live right here. Wow. Do we know where on Sanibel? Oh, this is the causeway.
Okay.
Gosh, it's hard to see even through the.
So this is not our sky cam. This is just a look at the causeway from Sanibel. And look at the visibility is just terrible right now there, and you can barely see the roadway made out there, and just an incredible picture coming from Sanibel and from some of the barrier island areas to us tonight.
Now back to a point, we were talking about Marco Island and we were looking at that radar image. If we can put the radar image back up again, because something that Jim explained to me while everybody at home couldn't hear, less rain on the bottom side does not mean less wind in the bottom side.
No, you're right. Obviously there will be less rain as that southern semicircle moves over and nearby Marco compared to the northern semicircle, but that doesn't correlate directly with wind. So we do expect you're going to get hit by a lot of rain, very powerful wind. Then the eye will come over. It'll be calm and dry. And then the southern semicircle will come over. It'll be pretty dry, but very windy. So you can still have a lot of wind.